working in agriculture. A common assumption of colonialism is that agriculture is the hallmark of civilization. This false assumption led the agents of colonialism to see First Nations people as uncivilized because they were not farmers. Government agents and missionaries were determined to make First Nations people farmers as a part of their process of civilization. Most coastal First Nations had very arable land, even if they were inclined to farm. Interior First Nations did join the agricultural economy to some degree, but discriminatory laws which favored the settlers put almost insurmountable obstacles in their way. Just as the industrial takeover of the salmon resource displaced the First Nations of the coast from their fishing grounds, so did the agriculture interests displace the interior people from their territories. First Nations people utilized a wide diversity of plants and animals, moving throughout a large expanse of land. Farmers used a limited number of crops or livestock, sometimes restricting their total production to just one crop. The principal resource required for agriculture are land and water. First Nations people were unable to fully participate in agriculture because they were denied access to these resources. Any British citizen could come and squat on 160 to 320 acres of unoccupied land, and it was theirs as long as they improved the land. Improving the land meant clearing it and converting it to agricultural land. Settlers arrived in growing numbers in the 1860s and 1870s, taking up land and water rights. There were laws which prohibited settlers from claiming lands that were burial sites, First Nation villages, or cultivated fields. But these were often ignored. When the First Nations people tried to seek justice, they found the legal system was against them. Survivors of the smallpox epidemic were just getting back on their feet again, only to find their land base was disappearing. Not only that, animals such as deer and beaver were being driven from their habitats. First Nations people became involved in agriculture in three ways: subsistence farming, commercial farming, and working as farm laborers. Subsistence farming, that is farming to provide food for the family, was the most common. It took many forms, from potato gardens, which were widespread in coastal villages, to larger farms elsewhere with poultry, vegetable gardens, hay, and cows for milk. Commercial farming was undertaken in relatively few areas of the province, primarily in the Cowichan Valley and the Fraser Valley and the Okanagan. The height of the First Nations commercial farming was between 1890 and 1920. However, many factors made it difficult for these farms to succeed. Partly was due to the economics of the time, as small farmers generally were having difficulty by World War I. First Nations farmers faced other obstacles. They could not increase their land base since they were restricted to using only their reserve land. They had no access to water for irrigation because the people living on reserves could not get a water license. Gradually, the commercial farms died out as people realized they could make more money working as laborers for owners of larger farms.
Could you please come to the counselor's office? Brooklyn Lane, Jasmine, Thompson.